Hi homesteaders, my name is Melissa with GullionHomestead and welcome to my channel where we focus on homesteading skills, self-sufficiency, and resilience. Today I'm going to show you how I put together a quick chicken enchilada that is great for leftovers, great for lunches. It's going to be our dinner for tonight. So join me now as we start our chicken in our Instant Pot. So I've been making chicken enchiladas for, let's see, probably 35 years or so. I originally got this recipe from a friend that I worked with, a guy I worked with like years and years and years and years ago. And he made these chicken enchiladas, and I've just kind of changed the recipe just a little bit just to work for us in our household. So you can make this as big or as little as you want. I am not big on measuring things, but I'm going to do my best to give you measurements here on this video because I know that that's important for a lot of people. So we are going to make these enchiladas tonight, and it is going to be a low-carb version, which just means that we're using low-carb wraps for this meal. This makes the meal pretty low. I mean, the low-carb wraps I think are 6 grams. I'll get those out here in a bit. They're like 6 grams or maybe 4 grams per tortilla, and they're huge tortillas. So if you have half of that, I mean, chicken's basically no carbs. We're going to be using cream cheese and some cheddar cheese. So there's really, and there's some salsa in here, so there's really not a lot of carbs in it at all. So it's really great for people that need a high protein diet and or a low carb diet. So I'm going to start by putting my chicken. Now I have these packs of chicken. I buy my chicken in bulk by the box from Sam's. I go and buy them in a big, huge box. It's about $100 and you get just a ton of chicken. And then I divide them out, the chicken breasts out, so that I normally divide them out in like 2 breasts because it's just Steve and I. So, but these breasts are, this actually might be more than 2, but I weighed this. We'll go ahead and weigh it again so you guys have the right information. But I weighed this, and so it's a little over, it's like 2¼ pounds of chicken. So I am going to just throw my chicken in my Instant Pot. Now my Instant Pot was already a little bit hot because I was cleaning it out and I had some stuff stuck at the bottom. So if you ever have that happen, if you just throw some vinegar and water in your Instant Pot and turn on manual, you can kind of get it hot enough that you can clean the bottom of it real good. So that's what I did. And then I'm going to throw a little broth in there. So you can use store-bought broth, but I do my own, make my own chicken broth. So I'm just going to, and I thought I had some in the fridge, but I don't. So normally what I just do is add a little chicken broth, and then I'm going to put the rest of this chicken broth in the fridge, and I use it for whatever next time I need some chicken broth. This will stay good for a while in the fridge. Normally I leave it in there for like a week or sometimes 2 weeks, but I'll just date when I opened it, and then we can use the rest of it. So I put about 2 cups of chicken broth in here. All right, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to close off our, put our lid on our Instant Pot, and then I'm going to make sure I close the vent so that it's closed. You don't want it to venting, you want it to be closed. And I'm going to turn my Instant Pot around here, and all I do is I just go to the poultry setting, and it'll cook for 40 minutes. That's fine. It might even overcook it a little bit, but I want my chicken to be super tender so it shreds really nicely. So I'm going to go ahead and I just hit the poultry button. That's all I did. It's starting up. Once it gets up to pressure, then it'll cook for 40 minutes. And then probably what I'll do, you can let the pressure come down on its own, but I want to make sure I get this done before we go to our small group at church tonight. So I'll probably go ahead and depressurize it as soon as it's done so that we can get moving on to the next portion of our meal. So before I stop the video and let this cook, let me talk to you a little bit about the ingredients that we are going to be using. Okay, so I have these, they're just like these extreme wellness tortillas. I really have a goal of this year sometime trying to figure out how to make a low carb tortilla for us so that we can use our own ingredients to make this. Really don't like to buy things that are store-bought like this. If you follow me for any time, you know that I try to make everything really from scratch. So, but we had these in the freezer. They've been in there for a while. So I thought this would be a good way to use these up. And then I think I'm also going to possibly make some egg burritos, like breakfast burritos, and stick them in the freezer so we have a quick breakfast or lunch meal that we can take with us. Steve and I discussed that this morning, and I think that would be another good way of using these up. So we are going to use those. Normally I use about 6 tortillas. There's a lot more than that. So we use typically about 6. I'll see how much we get out of this, but normally 6 tortillas. And then they're so stuffed, so full that normally Steve and I can only eat like half of one. So it will take us, if I make it today, it will be good for the rest of the week. It's early in the week. It's the beginning of the week. So we'll either have enough for lunch food for the rest of the week, which is kind of my goal. Typically I make something like this on Monday or Tuesday so that we have lunch food for the rest of the week. I do cook dinner pretty much every night, but I like to make one big meal that can be good for leftovers for the rest of the week. So last week it was lasagna. It was vegetable lasagna or low-carb lasagna. This week it is chicken enchiladas. So every week it's something different. But every other day of the week, we actually eat a protein and a vegetable. So this is kind of unusual for us to have some type of casserole thing like this. But then you just need some shredded cheese, 2 cups of shredded cheese. And then you can put pecani sauce in it if you would like. You would mix that in or top it off with pecani sauce. I'm going to use salsa. I have some freezer salsa that we took out. Steve started chomping up on it. He hasn't eaten any in a while, and I know that it needs to be used up. So I'm going to go ahead, and that's the other reason I decided to do this is I have salsa and I had tortillas that need to be eaten up. So I'm going to grab the salsa out of the fridge, and we'll use that for our mix and for our topping. And then the other base is cream cheese. So I've got, and I hope this is going to be enough. This is organic farmhouse cream cheese that I got from Azure Standard. And I've only used it in one other thing, and I couldn't really taste it very well. What did I use it in? I can't even remember what I used it in, but whatever I used it in, I actually couldn't taste it very well. So this is really going to tell me how good this stuff tastes. But I bought like 6 of these, and I keep them in the freezer and pull them out when I need them. So there's 2 6-ounce blocks of cream cheese. I used to use Philadelphia cream cheese or store-bought cream cheese, but since I buy most of my groceries from Azure Standard, I just went ahead and bought their organic farmhouse cream cheese to see if I liked it, and I'm sure I will. And then we'll add a little bit of garlic powder to it. So we'll be back here in a bit when the chicken's done, and we'll move on to the next part of our recipe. Hey guys, I'm back and my chicken is done. So I'm going to go ahead and let the steam out of my Instant Pot. When I do that, I normally just throw a rag over it so it's not so loud. Okay, so something that I like to do, and I'm going to show you a trick, is I like to shred my chicken in my KitchenAid mixer. So I saw this hack online one time, and I thought it was just the best hack ever. It's fabulous. So you would use this whisk for your KitchenAid, and we are going to make sure this is locked in place. And then I'm going to take my chicken, I'm going to put it in here, and we're going to shred it up. And when I show you this, if you have not experienced this, never tried this, I think you're going to love it because it is fantastic that you don't have to. I used to hand shred everything or try to cut it with a fork or knife. Now that's as long as my chicken is nice and tender. And I did 40 minutes like it said on the Instant Pot. So let's just hope that that happens. So as you can see, my chicken is coming out of the Instant Pot. It looks like it's going to shred really nice because see, it's very tender. So I'm just going to put this in my mixing bowl here. So I've got 2 large chicken breasts. Remember, it's 2 1/4 pounds. Now I'm going to show you exactly how I shred my chicken. I basically lock my mixer, turn it on low, And no kidding, it shreds your chicken. It's fantastic. Okay. So let me get you a good close look at that shredded chicken. Is that phenomenal? Now, I would say the key to having a good shredded chicken is to have chicken that's actually very, very tender. And I feel like the Instant Pot does a good job with this. Okay, so now we're going to mix in our cream cheese. And I am just going to plop it right in there. This meal is so fantastic and so easy. You guys are going to love how easy it is to pull together a chicken enchilada in no time. And honestly, what I used to do way before I had an Instant Pot is I actually made my chicken in a crock pot. And then when I got home from work or the kids got out of school, I would actually take the chicken out. I would shred it by hand when I didn't have a KitchenAid. And I would make my enchiladas. All right, so I'm just going to lock this back in place, and I'm going to mix my cream cheese in there. So here is my homemade salsa. It's very spicy. I'm going to start with half a cup. Remember, we have 2 1/4 cups of chicken in there. Okay, I'm going to put a teaspoon of garlic powder in there. So that looks pretty good, but I think I'd like just a little bit more salsa. So I'm going to add another 1/4 cup of salsa. Now, again, you can use picante sauce or salsa, but I like to use salsa because it's what I make here at home. Comes out of my garden. I actually do 2 types of salsa. I do a canned salsa, I do a freezer salsa. Okay. All right. So our filling's done, and you can see how super easy that is to make that filling. So let's put together our enchiladas. Okay, guys, I am going to make kind of a mess. So I'm just going to take a spatula and make sure that everything is mixed up nice and good. It looks great. And you can see that this enchilada, you have shredded chicken, you've got salsa, you've got garlic powder, you've got cream cheese. Excellent. It's very good. You could throw jalapenos on there if you want. We have done that in the past, but my jalapenos are in the freezer, so I'm probably not going to do that today. But now we're going to throw together our enchiladas. Okay, guys, I'm just going to use a 9 by 13 inch pan tonight. Now, I don't always use that, but I think I've got enough filling here to make a pretty big casserole dish. So I am going to go ahead and turn on the oven at 350 degrees. So you surely could measure out your enchiladas and what you are going to put in each enchilada, but I typically don't do that. I just kind of eye what I think needs to go in the enchilada. Enchiladas are not the really large ones. I was thinking they were, so they're not. So I'm probably going to get more in here than I thought, and I might even have to add another pan. I've done before where I've actually taken, I made 2 pans and then just put one in the freezer, and then I have had an extra meal for another time. And I'm kind of thinking that I might have that luck tonight. So I'm basically just going to throw some enchilada filling in each of my wraps, and I'm just going to wrap it, roll it over just like so, and place it in a greased 9 by 13 inch pan. Now, One of the reasons I grease it is because sometimes the cheese kind of melts and gets out in the pan, and then it sticks to the bottom of the pan and it's hard to get it out. So I've started greasing my pan. I didn't always do that, but that's what I do now. So let me cancel that. Okay, you guys, I have filled a 9x13-inch pan. I've got 5 enchiladas in here, but I have enough for a few more. So I'm going to do a small container of enchiladas to put in the freezer. I have a couple of these little foiled containers that I had for a Christmas thing I was doing. So I think that I'm probably just going to have enough for a couple of enchiladas. So that's what it looks like, maybe just 2. So I think I'll just put those in there. This will be a nice, like, quick meal for Steve and I one night if we just need something for one evening. So I'm just going to throw, grease that down. I'm just going to throw, looks like I'll be able to fit 2 in there nicely. And I'll just put the last of this in here. A little extra filling doesn't hurt anything. So we ended up with 7 enchiladas. So this would absolutely feed a family. If you had a little over 2 pounds of chicken, it would really make this go a long way. So you could serve it with some rice or cauliflower rice on the side if you want. For us, we're just fine with just having an enchilada. We really don't need anything else to go with it. So the next thing we're going to do is we are going to take our salsa or picante sauce, depending on what you have, and you're just going to spread it over the top of your enchiladas. And I might have to get some more salsa out, actually. I think I am. Let me get some. I have a couple of jars of salsa left that there's a little bit liquidy. It's not as solid as this, but that's actually okay because that's more like a picante sauce anyway. So I'm just going to pour that on top of my enchiladas. And you could also do this, which I have not done this before, but I do have some salsa verde in there that I made from the garden. You could do this with a salsa verde as well, or you could top it with cheese sauce or an enchilada sauce. I actually have an enchilada sauce in there as well that I made, but Steve really likes it this way, so I make it this way. All right, so we're going to bake these for 20 minutes in a 350-degree oven, and we'll be back here shortly to put it in the oven when the oven heats up. I started to think, after I told you I was going to put both of them in the oven, I'm not going to do that because this little foil one, I'm going to stick in the freezer because the chicken's already cooked. Everything's all put together. So I'm going to stick that in the freezer, and I'm just going, it's got one of these lids right here that you can just pop on top. And I'm going to label what it is, stick it in the freezer, and then in a couple weeks when we need a meal, then I'll have a chicken enchilada all ready to go. Now, if you put something in the freezer, especially that I am one that it doesn't matter what I put in the freezer, I actually label everything because sometimes when it's frozen, I can't really tell what it is. Chicken enchiladas. And date it, and we will put that in the freezer and we'll have a meal for another time. I will say one of the things that I like to do is to food save everything that goes into the freezer. So this is my food saver. I keep it put away, tucked away, and just pull it out when I need it. But I'm going to go ahead and food save my enchilada in here. I'm not sure when I'm going to use it. I don't want it to get freezer burnt, and I just feel better about everything that goes in my freezer that's been food saved. So I'm just going to kind of measure here. It looks like that will be good. And here's a tip for you if you have a food saver. I typically seal before I slice. I seal so that this is already sealed when it comes out. So my bottom's already sealed. And now I slice this and I've got my bag. Then when you go to use your next roll, it's sealed. Just prevents another step the next time you go to use your food saver. Okay, so this works out great. I actually do this with casserole dishes as well. I just like that extra security of preventing freezer burn. And then sometimes I go ahead and hit seal because since this is an aluminum container, it's shrinking that air, shrinking it up a little bit. So I'll just hit seal before it stops because most of the air is out of it. Okay, and we're good to go. That can go into the freezer. Put this up, and our oven's just about ready to put our enchilada, our dinner, in for tonight. Okay, guys, the oven's done. Okay, we're at 350 degrees, so I'm going to go ahead and pop this into my oven. Set the timer for 20 minutes. Now what this does, remember your chicken is already cooked, your cheese is already really at room temperature. I let my cheese kind of sit out for a little bit and then I put it in the fridge just so that it was nice and soft. But typically with store-bought cheese, with store-bought cream cheese, I'll let it sit on the counter so it gets nice and soft. I didn't say that before. But this 20 minutes, what it's doing is actually heating your burrito all the way through, or your enchilada all the way through. So remember, the chicken's already cooked. So really it's just heating it through so it's nice and warm. Then we're going to come back and we're going to top it off with cheese. We'll be back here shortly in 20 minutes and finish this off. Okay, guys, I'm not going to do this today, but I have 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. Yeah, 9 tortillas left. This is going to be great. I have a pig that we had butchered and we bought half a pig. We've got lots of sausage out there. So I think I'm going to I have some, so this is, I'm not going to do this anymore, but this is a great idea if you want to do this, is I buy my cheese in bulk from like Costco or Sam's and then divide it into 2-cup containers, I put it in a freezer bag and then stick it in the freezer. And then I just pull it out when I need it. And I do that all the time, but I'm kind of I don't want to do that anymore because I really am going to start buying, if I can, I'm going to start buying bulk block cheese and shred my own cheese. I don't like the idea that they actually put things in here to kind of prevent it from sticking together. I just want my cheese to be cheese, in other words. So I actually do have some cheese in the freezer. I bought block style. I cut it into 6-ounce squares and put it in freezer bags like this. It's frozen, but it is cheddar cheese. It's a white cheddar cheese. So I thought about using that, but I had a couple bags of this left still, and I wanted to kind of get through these things. So I'm going to go ahead and use this cheddar cheese. And then on these, maybe I'll do a video on that. I'm going to do a freezer video on making breakfast burritos. I love a breakfast burrito, and these, I am on a high protein diet, so this is 5 grams of protein for one of these wraps. So if you can get a couple of eggs and some cheese and some sausage from in here, that's going to be a great protein breakfast or a great lunch. I'm fine with eating a breakfast burrito for lunch. So these are going to go in the fridge, and then we are getting really close to getting our enchiladas out of the oven and top them with cheese. Okay, guys, I am going to cut open my bag of cheese. Just try to shred it up a little bit. It does get in clumps a little bit when you actually put it in the food saver, but it breaks up real easy. So it'll be real easy to use. This is probably 2 cups of cheese is about enough for a 9 by 13 inch pan. So we're about done. I'm going to go ahead and pull those enchiladas out. Okay, so you can see the enchiladas look great. Yeah, they look great. They're baked up really nicely. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to top this with cheese, and then we're going to put it back in the oven and let this melt. Let all the cheese kind of melt. It takes about 5 minutes or so, but oh man, it's so good, so cheesy. And sometimes I even put Sometimes I don't even measure my cheese. I just put a ton of cheese on there because we love cheese. Okay, we're getting ready to put this back in the oven, 5 minutes or so. You might have to kind of eye it. So we'll stick it in there right now for 5 minutes. And we'll be back here shortly and we'll see how it turned out. Okay guys, it's been just about 5 minutes and I just checked on it and it is super melted, looks really yummy. You can see it right there. Yeah, looks great. Looks great. So I hope you enjoyed this chicken enchilada DIY. We hope that you will join us again for some homesteading skills, but this is going to be fabulous. I'll probably only eat half of one of these because I just checked and the protein is like really high. So I'm probably only going to need about half of one. Steve will probably eat a whole one, but then we'll have enough for his lunch for sure for the rest of the week. So thanks for joining us. Please like and subscribe so you don't miss any of our awesome content, and we'll see you next time. Bye. Hey guys.
Hey guys.
Please like and subscribe.
Please like and subscribe.